Oh, I'm ready. This is going to be another good one.
Alright, so welcome to game number 1 here between Beasty, Cutie, and Leenock. Beasty gonna be spawning in here on the right-hand side of the map. We've already got some crazy action coming out from him here. Moving out with... Oh, he's going for the early boar. Have a look at this. Tim, who is spawning in on the right-hand side? Or the left-hand side, sorry.
That's okay. Spawning in on the western side of this mountain clearing, playing as the HRE, using that prelate, spreading the word of their Lord Jesus Christ, all of those villagers, and in the color red, it is the Leenock. Beasty establishing, just like you said, with that mill, going to be able to establish just a little bit of map control and get the boar. So we'll see if Beasty goes for survival techniques here when that mill gets built. But also, you got to remember, for the English player, they have short bows. So just for the fact that they venture out to go get that boar, this kind of is like a Dark Age military unit because of their ability to fire short bows. Leenock can't do anything against this. They can only make spearmen.
Yeah, that is true. Unfortunately, on this map, well, maybe fortunately, but gold always spawns towards the back here, the large gold. So you never really have these forward gold mines, which means, you know, English on this map, you're not going to be able to short bow rush that easily like you are on other maps. We see Beasty. I wonder what his plan is here with these villagers so forward. Maybe it is just for the food, but maybe he looks to stick down a couple towers on this sacred site. Maybe even a forward council hall here, quite possibly. It's probably just for the food, but he could be looking to do other things with these villagers this forward.
Yeah, no, he absolutely can. Obviously, having those economic units that forward means you can do a little bit of a proxy base if you choose to. But getting that boar carcass obviously pretty important. I wanted to talk about a little bit because you talk about an English villager rush. You know, against the HRE, obviously, it could end up working, right? The only thing they have is a prelate and could heal some of those villagers. If he were to do that, I'm not saying this is happening because he would have been doing it by now. But if he were to do that, there might not be a bad tower next to the deer that Leenock is pushing in, the gold right there. Leenock does go with an Aachen Chapel. Going to be able to get probably that first part of that wood line over there to the western side. The gold and the sheep as well, whereas Beasty's Council Hall, not that forward in-your-face Council Hall that we were both probably hoping for at this stage. But it's going to be right next to his starting towns that are going to be pumping out those longbowmen as soon as possible.
You know what I'd love to see from the English? Is an abbey of memes right here on the sacred site.
Stop.
I know it's impossible on a map like this, but I would love to see it because, you know, then you can just sit underneath your sacred site, you know, capture it up when you get to the castle age, and you got the abbey of memes healing you up while you're just, you know, sitting here. I think that could be pretty cool. Oh, you know what they should do? They should...
I don't want to do it. I don't want to enable this behavior.
They should make the king a religious unit so it can capture sacred sites in the feudal age.
I mean, okay, historically, I could see that, right? Because for English, I'm going to give a history lesson now as we're going into feudal age. And if I think I remember correctly, but if the king is a religious unit, it would probably be something like King Henry VIII, right? Because he made Anglicanism. And it was a branch of Protestantism from the Catholicism that English used to have. So that could be a good idea. The problem is, in terms of balance for the king, it takes 300 resources out of the Abbey of Kings to make a bad knight. So it's not that great.
True. I think it could still be cool, though. It would make great content, and that's what we're all about, right? But we see Beasty. He's about to age up here. He's not really rushing this up. We see he's only got the 3 workers on that council hall. Leenock, on the other hand, he's got down a stable. We're looking now to make a horseman. Probably looking to just try and raid Beasty here on the boar. But we see he's already made use of all of the food that this has on it. You know, well, there's still obviously 700 there, but it's not that much, right? So we'll have to see what Leenock looks to do. If he just looks to put on the pressure here with just a couple horsemen. We see a second one now in the queue. Is he going to be looking towards a castle age behind this relatively soon? I would assume we would be, but we see that first horseman does come in. That's going to be 600 food denied away from that boar. Beasty got to be feeling pretty happy with the value he got from that. It looks like Leenock isn't going to be able to find any villager kill.
Yeah, I really like Leenock making a stable there. Obviously, it forces those villagers to back up, number one. Number two, you know that the only military building that Beasty has is the council hall. So the only thing that he can really make is longbowmen that the horsemen will be able to do well against. So Leenock just taking him back just a little bit in terms of map control. Now adding the barracks about 5 minutes, 30 seconds into the game. We'll be able to get it up a little bit safe. And I was kind of wondering, just based on Beasty's macro, because he had a decent amount of food, he had a decent amount of gold. I was half expecting him to do something like a fast castle against an HRE, which from my understanding is a no-no.
I mean, could we see a possible white tower drop from Beasty on the sacred site? Because at the moment he's making quite a few units. He's up to 3 longbow. Also making a couple spears. He's going to have a good enough army here to try and, get up a white tower here if that is what he's looking towards. But Leenock, he's going to be up to the castle age much, much sooner than Beasty. Whether that's going to be the Regnants or the Burgrave, not entirely sure. It's probably going to be the Regnants. Just because it's so easy to pick up the relics, you can probably get in at least... Actually, you're probably not going to be able to get in 4 or 5, but you're going to be able to get in 3. Which, for the Holy Roman Empire is pretty huge, especially as they're so close to the base as well. It could definitely be nice for them.
Yeah, and I mean, it's so... For me, if I was playing HRE on this map, it's so impossible for me not to go Regnus, right? You have a relic just staring you in the face. It's hard to not try to pick it up. But Beasty is trying to get a little bit of initiative here in the feudal age. Going to be able to make some spearmen and some longbowmen out as well. One thing that's good about this map for the HRE is there is a safe spot for that Regnus Cathedral. Ooh, there's a sneaky little villager in there. I'll tell you, she just thinks she's one of the soldiers. She's just fighting with him.
I'm not exactly sure where he's actually heading with this. Maybe he's trying to deny away a little bit of a wood line here. He could actually look to chop through here on the top, but have a look at this, Leenock. Oh my goodness, we got a Belgrave. We got a Belgrave. Have a look at this. This could be actually really, really nice for Leenock here. If he can get through some men-at-arms into the base of Beasty before he ages up. Because Beasty, he's looking towards that castle age now. So we'll have to see if he can get this up in, up and running before Beasty does look to age up. And we see that villager. Uh-oh. Oh, he manages to survive there. Tower gonna get dropped down.
Is it the perfect place, too? Because that villager can't get continued to get hit by some of those. But I do want to talk about the Burgrave. Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order? These castle age men-at-arms could be coming out into Beasty's base. But you got to remember, this strategy doesn't really have as much moxie as it used to, just because the council hall is able to make crossbowmen now too. But Beasty is a little bit further away from castle age, and it's going to take a while for him to actually get that castle age landmark going. So if Leenock gets maybe about 6 or 7 men-at-arms, puts them in Beasty's face, it could stop any kind of landmark, whether it's White Tower or King's Palace, which could be huge. He did put a relic in that outpost over here on the western side, which could really help him. Now all he needs is a little bit of stone, because we know those HRE relic outposts, when they get springolds on them, man, they are nasty.
Yeah, it's just the range on them, right? That is so crazy with the relic in there. I mean, even without any emplacement in there, the range on them's pretty good. In saying that, he can't reach the longbow. There we go. Now can finally reach in. It looks like Leenock, instead of rallying the men-at-arms towards the base of Beasty, is looking to try and clean this up first, which does make sense, but you're just allowing Beasty to age up here in the base, which, interestingly, he's going with the King's Palace in the base here.
Yeah, I actually think what you were talking about with the White Tower might not be a bad play. Getting that ability to have that defensive structure, or offensive structure, I would say, right in the middle of the sacred site, and getting network of citadels rather quickly. Leenock is pulling the peasants, those serfs, getting rather upset that there is an English outpost in this area, so it will be burned down rather quickly, so he's able to get to that wood line whenever he wants to. The thing about the Burgrave, though, because I want to elaborate on it just a little bit more. The reason, like, with the Burgrave, you want to get a good tempo swing and good initiative as soon as you build it. You know, within like the first, I want to say 2 to 3 minutes when you build it, because that'll help you set the tone for the rest of the game. The only thing Leenock really did was get rid of that outpost and a couple longbowmen, right? So as this game starts to go a little bit longer, Leenock will probably regret his choice if the Burgrave doesn't pay off in a decent amount of damage towards Beasty.
Yeah, and you've also got to remember, with the English here, they've got the Council Hall, which can make crossbow. You know, this was never a thing. This, I believe, came through in Season 4, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's quite easy for the English to pump out just a few crossbow. They train at double the speed. So, you know, being able to train crossbow in this landmark makes it really easy for them when they reach the castle age to be able to counter any sort of men-at-arms coming out from the Holy Roman Empire. So, Leenock, he's up to 8 men-at-arms here, but I'm not sure what value he can find from it. Have a look at this, by the way. Beasty still has a single villager behind the base here of Leenock. You know, this could come back to bite Leenock.
You know, we joked about that villager being like, oh, yeah, you know, she's one of the soldiers, you know, whatever. She's the only one alive.
Yeah, true. Maybe Leenock spared her.
Still at 20 health, though. They will, I mean, if Beasty does pay attention, we'll get a little bit of a chop through on the other side. I'm not sure what he would actually do with it, but, you know, that little bit of wood income never hurts anybody. I see Spartan in chat saying that she's G.I. Jane. Oh, yeah. That, I'm not messing. 20 health or otherwise, I'm leaving that villager the hell alone.
I feel like Beasty could get away with building a tower here, getting, you know, fortifications, then a springwood emplacement. You didn't know Leenock away from wood income and maybe even some farms for quite a little bit. You know, it's not going to be anything major, but I felt like it's going to pay for itself. We'll have to see as Leenock now looks to capture that central sacred site. We talked about it earlier. Only one sacred site on this map will mean Leenock is looking for that sacred site victory. I wonder if we could be seeing a bit of an Imperial Age coming through from him. I don't think he's got enough food to do so, as we see he's going into farms. But something we've seen before is fast Imperial into a Elsbat's Palace, just sitting on the sacred site here. But I think it's going to be a little bit tricky here up against the English, as Beasty, you know, he's got the potential to make quite a lot of units here, as he has the Council Hall dropping down another barracks now as well, so we'll have to see.
Well, Leenock has to make a decision about how he wants to play this game. Right, because he has the Burgrave Palace, he doesn't have the Regnum's Cathedral giving him that economy where the relics pay off every minute you're longer into the game. So maybe Leenock doesn't necessarily want this game to go long. Maybe he doesn't want to do Imperial. You can see he was continuing to make units. He's adding some knights. He added a couple land snakes. He's getting veteran horsemen, as you can see that upgrade on the top left part of your screen. So he knows that if the game goes longer too, if BC's going with King's Palace, that he will end up getting a high economy in terms of number. He might be able to take back the sacred site, put Leenock on the back foot. So he's trying to put a little bit of initiative as the HRE on Castle Age. And I have to say, I do appreciate his attempt. And now that when that sacred site does end up getting neutralized, maybe Leenock starts pulling his army, because all he wants to do, put this on a clock. And I think, honestly, Merlin, I think he's trying to end this game in 9 minutes. He doesn't want this going on.
I think that is going to be the case. We see Leenock queuing up a few more horsemen. Doesn't want to take this fight, though. We see Beasty. He's got quite the force. Hasn't upgraded his spearmen quite yet, but he's got plenty of crossbows in there. He's up to 11, and that's more than enough to deal with these men-at-arms, or at least kiting them back into the base. And then, you know, Leenock will have to fight underneath the TC, etc. And you got enough of an army here to be able to tank with the spears and still fight with the crossbow. But as you say, Leenock, I think he is wanting to end this here in the Castle Age in the next 8 minutes. And it looks like Leenock is wanting to take this fight here. We see Beasty, though, able to one-shot these men-at-arms. Spears going to be tanking here on the front line. Network of castles giving that extra attack speed. Beasty, I think he's very happy taking this fight. We see the army value much higher here for Leenock. As long as Beasty targets down those Landsknechts, which he is indeed doing. We got more crossbows coming out from the Council Hall as well. You know, Beasty is losing out on a lot of army, but Leenock is losing out on even more just because his army is so expensive.
Yeah, I mean, Beasty's crossbowmen, just with the network of castles, that group of crossbowmen, because there's about 11 or 12, they turn into Chon deers the way they're able to just mow down all of those men-at-arms. They're going to be able to get a neutralization maybe on this sacred site unless Leenock wants to push the initiative. But the thing is, for Leenock, in terms of his economy, yes, he's doing a good job of making units, military count 28 to 18, but he's not bolstering the defenses around this sacred site. If he truly wants to end this game, we're going to need some defensive structures. We're going to need some keeps. We're going to need some outposts. Now, Stone Mine just coming down for Leenock. He's obviously watching the stream. Leenock, turn the stream off.
Yeah, so it does seem like he's going to be going for some more defensive structures now around the sacred site. I say more, there isn't any here in the first place, so going to be adding them in now. But as you say, Leenock, he doesn't really have a lot else going for him at the moment. He's up in army value by around double. But apart from that, he's down when it comes to the economy. It's not even like he went up with the regnants, so he doesn't even have extra good relics, right? They're still the equivalent of 3 relics, so he doesn't have that going for him either. So Beasty, the longer he can play this one out, the better it is for him, especially as he's playing the English as well, which we all know the later it goes into the game for them, the better it is.
Yeah, I mean, right now for Beasty, he's cool with this. You know, he doesn't necessarily need to take the sacred site now. I mean, although it does give Leenock a little bit of passive gold generation, and you would rather not have that, of course. But, you know, he could really get a battle going maybe within like 3 minutes for the sacred site or something like that. And if he keeps his economy up, he knows that he doesn't need to completely all in to take down that sacred site, so it could be pretty beneficial for him. I do see Beasty over here on the eastern side putting that keep down. Merlin, he's the first to the keep, and I think that's huge.
That is really huge, and it's going to be in the radius of the sacred site here. Leenock, he's going to be able to build his relatively close without being affected by it. But this is huge for Beasty because it's a good defensive position now for his crossbows to just sit underneath here with the mangonels. And if Beasty gets through his boiling oil as well, it makes it pretty much impossible for Leenock to push this, as he's got only melee forces here.
Now, I could think of one technology that might be a little bit better than boiling oil coming out of that keep. You gotta remember, the English keep can make units. Ooh, a nice little mango shot. Those rocks are heat-seeking missiles. Those land snakes probably at about like 15 to 20 health. Pretty bad for them. But Beasty getting a Springald upgrade on his men-at-arms, but that's exactly the technology that I'm talking about, Merlin. Network of Citadels, 40% increase attack speed. How do you fight under that keep?
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. It's definitely going to be tricky, and Beasty, he's got a really good position now. Leenock going up with that keep. Double Mangonel is out from Leenock, though, but Beasty, he's already here with double Springald. He knows exactly what Leenock is planning right here. Springald's going to be slowly taking down the workers as well. Beasty moving forward with the mangonels. Huge shot, huge shot. Leenock has one worker on, what's that, 1 HP, 2 HP. I don't see this keep getting up unless more workers get pulled, Tim.
Yeah, no, he's gonna have to pull the boys, and he doesn't have a lot of boys left with only 50 military. Leenock actually taking this battle under the English keep. A couple mangonels are gonna be going down. Might be able to take out that Springald too, but no, those horsemen and those knights end up going down. This is a huge loss for Leenock, to be honest with you, because it's about 5 minutes left in this sacred site victory. He does pull a decent amount of boys and be able to get this keep. Maybe a distraction tactic for him in order to actually get this keep up in the first place, so Beasty doesn't get a cheeky neutralization of the sacred site, because we're at about 5 minutes. Beasty's army composition is predominantly just crossbowmen, so he needs a little bit of a front line, but he's spending that extra wood. Beasty is trying to get some trebuchets. He knows if he takes down that keep, he's in a good situation. Leenock, I'm sure he's played a bunch of King of the Hill games. Mountain clearing, not much different, except it's rather flat. When you're getting that one sacred site and you're trying to win on that one sacred site, it means you got to get anti-siege, because you got to take down those trebuchets one way or another. He's got 4 Springolds, another one in the queue.
I've got to say, though, Leenock, he's down to 4 minutes left on the sacred site. When we start to get to, like, the 2-minute mark, that's when we can start to think about pulling all the villagers. And Leenock, at the moment, he's not looking too bad here. We see a relic being pulled here to... Oh, I think Leenock may have misclicked. He's put the prelate inside the keep. I think he meant to drop the relic into the keep. So a little bit of a mistake there. Emergency repairs is coming through from him. We see he's rallied out here with the houses. Leenock also going to be able to find himself a kill there, but loses out on a lot there. We see the keep doing so much damage there with this Springald emplacement and the arrows. Able to survive on 4 HP. That prelate still sitting inside the keep. Oh, poor Leenock. You know, that relic could make a difference.
That prelate is doing its best Smeagol impression. He's hoarding the relic just for himself instead of putting it in the keep. Because obviously with that range, you're absolutely right. I mean, a keep that has a relic in it is so massive for him. And Beasty also getting the textiles upgrade as well. So it means getting those villagers an extra change of clothes means if he has to neutralize that sacred site, they're going to be alive just a little bit longer.
And there we go. That relic finally gets put inside the keep, but it's going to be going down very shortly after that keep receives its relic. Beasty on 4 trebuchets. There we go. The keep goes down. But honestly, I feel like you keep this relic nearby and you go for the Wallow. We see there Beasty trying to stop that sacred site. I think Beast can just stick his whole army here. He can just pull everything. He's even pulling villagers here to sit on that sacred site. Leenock, he's got a couple mangonels here, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. Beasty, he's got Springalds here. It doesn't matter if the Springalds stay alive from Leenock, as long as the mangonels go down. That keep going to be going up. And there it is. The sacred site gets denied. Leenock's game plan in shambles right now. Trying to find a good fight in here. Does take out quite a few workers. We see Leenock's killed 15 villagers this game. But the question is it going to be enough? Because Beasty's still ahead when it comes to the economy. Leenock really needs to find some good value here, but Beasty, he's so far ahead when it comes to that army value.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Leenock's win condition in shambles. It's non-existent now. I don't know how he wins this game anymore. He doesn't have the economy. He doesn't have things like Regnus to help him out with passive income. G.I. Jane's still chopping wood over there, as you can see. Military count 46 to 14. Leenock's behind in every single category. The Springalds are having a nice little smooch with one another. It looks like they're going to be going down on either side. But now Beasty can take this sacred site, and the game is completely flipped on its head. Now Leenock's going to be on the offensive. And look at the difference of what Beasty's doing when he's capturing the sacred site. He has a second keep up there. He's building outposts. He's getting all of those defensive structures immediately. Leenock did not do that.
Oh, Leenock, it's looking rough for him. He's down in every possible way. And as a result of that, he's going to be calling GG. Game number 1 in this best of 3 goes over to Beasty.
Yeah, that was oh man, I don't know. I really don't like. I just didn't like the Burgrave, to be honest with you. I just didn't.
I think it works, but you got to find value from it very early, and that was something that Leenock struggled with because Beasty was behind the base of Leenock with some longbow, with some spears, with a villager. So it made it very tricky for him to find any value with that. And Beasty was very quick to age up behind that with the King's Palace in the base, and from there he just slowly creeped up in villages, and from there was able to decap the site and win.
Yeah. Again with mountain clearing, it really does play like King of the Hill, doesn't it? We noticed that in the middle of this. I mean, he used the Burgrave to get that little bit of map control, and then he was able to go ahead and take the sacred site, and then it became a game over the sacred site. So Beasty obviously with the little bit better terms of economy just because of how many villagers he has, even though it's a 1-0 for Beasty at this point. Let's see what our matchup is going to be in game 2. It's another China game, MrMerlin. Leenock on the Chinese, Beasty on the French. And I remember we talked about last week with Leenock. Remember when he used to only play China? He did for months. I mean, obviously now he's branched out to a bunch of different civs.
Right? I think were the two he only played.
Yeah. And we'll see if he could dust off the cobwebs. You know, I mean, he doesn't play China as much, obviously, because you're playing a bunch of other civs as a good AoE4 professional does. So we'll see if that Chinese Leenock, that Leenocktopus comes out and ties this series up.
It's going to be a little bit tough for him. We are on Dry Arabia, which is actually Leenock's home pick here. Kind of interesting that he went for China on it, but I guess he doesn't really have many other options. But Beasty, I feel like he's got to be feeling pretty happy with the French here up against China on Dry Arabia. So we'll have to see how it does here for Leenock. Hopefully he can pull back a game here so we do go to game number 3. But even if we do go to game number 3, we're going to be on Beasty's home pick, the Pit. We seem to be seeing a lot more of the Pit recently, actually. But that's going to be Beasty's home pick. And he's got Roos available on there. And we all know how strong the Roos is. Leenock not going to have China available to him. He's going to have to go with either the Marlians or the Delhi. I feel like on the Pit, you probably want to be going with the Delhi.
You know, you say that. But if I had a choice between, and it doesn't really matter what the map, at this point, if I had a choice between the Mali and any other Civ, I would just pick the Mali and straight up. Like, I just wouldn't care at that point. But you are right. Like Delhi, it's a pretty decent map for them. The Pit, obviously, because they get their 3 sacred sites pretty much right there. And it's nice because they can play each part of the Pit kind of like their own little mini 1v1 of sorts. It creates a little mini game because now with those 3 points of interest that are so crucial so early, it means that your opponent needs to have a mobile force to get through all of those areas. You can't necessarily, it's not like Tri Arabia, right? You can't necessarily traverse throughout the entire map whenever you want to. You got to go around those natural impassable areas and those mountain cliffs. So maybe he does go Delhi. But again, if Malians are playing like Malians are right now, I would probably just pick Mali.
True. The thing is, I'm not sure if Leenock knows how to play the Malians that well. I don't think I've ever seen him play the Malians apart from, like, you know, when the Civ came out. Obviously, everyone was trying it out, but I haven't really seen him play the Malians that much. Maybe it's just because they're always being banned everywhere, but I don't think I've seen him play them much. So maybe he's just not that familiar with them either. Maybe Beasty knows that, and that's why he didn't ban them from him. Maybe that's the idea there, but gonna have to see in the next game if we do go to that game number 3. But first, we got French versus China on Dry Arabia.
Yeah, this is one of the matchups actually for French that have been pretty good on ladder. I mean, French, and I think a big part of it is French's economic nerf getting reverted, right? They used to be, well, I guess here's another AoE4 history lesson, right? When the game first started, obviously French, their villager production was a little bit faster than every Civ. So for a normal Dark Age, it takes 20 seconds for a villager. For a French, it takes 18, right? And it scales up a little bit more. Ended up getting reverted, and then French went in the dumpster. They ended up reverting that nerf, and now with French having 2 town centers, actually can keep up with Song Dynasty reasonably well. Like, it's not that terrible.
Yeah, and they've got access to the Royal Knight, obviously, which is huge for pushing into China's base. Chuknu find it quite tricky to deal with that unit. So the French definitely have a lot going for them here. We'll just have to see what Leenock's plan is here. I mean, I'd assume it would be 2 TC from him, as you said, Song Dynasty as well.
I'll tell you what, though, Merlin, going 2 TC Song Dynasty against the French, it's risky business.
Yeah,
doing that, you know, because if Beasty can really put the hurt on him in feudal age, which we know French love to do, right? If they're able to put that hurt on, could get to a point where Leenock, even though he does have a surplus of villagers, but if they're idle and sitting in their town center all the damn time, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that is a good point. That is a good point. We'll have to see. We're only a minute away. Do we take a quick look at the schedule as well, just to see what we've got coming up after this set?
Yeah, let's take a quick look. Now, remember, we are in the Beasty Leenock series, Beasty with a 1-0 over Leenock, but our next series is Vortex versus Demu. You got to remember, these are three players to really watch out for today. Wham, Recon, Demu. These are players in that 7 to 9, anywhere from 6 to 9 kind of area where they're fighting for their playoff lives right now. We're fortunate enough to get 2 of these series on the schedule with Vortex and Demu coming next, and then Wham and Recon to tie things out. That's our headliner today, and it deserves that title.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. That set at the end of the day, Wham versus Recon. What a set that is going to be. At the moment, it looks like we got Lucifer versus Wham on the A stream, which is an interesting set right there. Obviously, Wham fighting for that top 8 position as well. But we're just about ready to hop into game number 2 here. Beasty playing as the French up against Leenock on the Chinese.
Let's see what we got. Merlin, I am waiting for that sweet intro. Playing as the boxes. Spawning in the color yellow. It is Beasty, and it looks like that missing ABP is going to try to pick up a couple more sheep. Who do we have on the other side?
On the other side, without the box, we've got Leenock spawning in, playing as the Chinese. Oh, okay. I was wondering where his villagers went for a second there. They were hiding behind the TC. And it looks like he's gonna be doing the little trick there with the supervised mill to get all of that extra wood. Boxy Cutie on the other hand, he's just gonna be playing French, pretty standard here, not going for any early mill. Oh, I say that he's doing the B. He's doing the 3D B. He's moving out here for the mill, grabbing survival techniques. It seems like the French, like everyone that plays the French is doing this now. It seems to be like the new common.
This is so good. This is so good as French because survival techniques is cheaper, right? Oh my, I can't take this cast seriously if you're just gonna follow a box around all the time. But the survival techniques, obviously, it's cheaper for the French, right? They want those outside food resources, and against a civilization like Chinese, where they're going to be more focused on their own base, right? So if you go out and get those, you're not necessarily going to be punished for this. So it's a good play by French and for Beasty in general.
Yeah. Beasty? I mean, it doesn't really matter that he's this far out, right? We talked about this with B versus Recon. You can go as far out as you want with the French when you're in a matchup like this, because you don't really have to worry about Leenock putting on any early pressure here. So it's not like he's going to be, making early horsemen or early, well, maybe making early spearmen, but it's not going to be put on the aggressive. So Beasty could always think about a forward school of cavalry here as well, like we saw B do in the first set of the day.
Yeah, that would really be thinking outside the box, right? Sorry, I'm done. That was a bad one. It's a bad joke.
I feel like we got to call Beasty Boxy Cutie for the rest of the day after this, but anyway.
It doesn't even have wheels. I don't understand.
I'm not sure what Leenock's plan here is when it comes to the Barbican, because he doesn't really have. I mean, I guess you place it over here. Okay, yeah, there it is. Barbican gonna be coming down. Just because you got the deer packs in the back of the base here, right? So this side of the map, you really want to try and protect. I'm sure we'll have some walls coming down here. And maybe even on the left-hand side here. You just really want to keep all of your resources safe if you're Leenock. And I feel like he's got a decent spawn. The deer have spawned relatively well for Leenock. He's also got the gold in the back here as well. So when it comes to spawns for Leenock, I'll be feeling pretty happy.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And if Leenock, I mean, obviously, if you want to go second TC by doing this, you're going to be able to. That Barbican going to be able to help you out. Beastie's only about halfway to finishing that school of boxes. It is right next to that first town center. So maybe if he does, get that out, maybe around like the 420 mark, something like that, he'll end up getting a royal box. Maybe he'll be able to take down a couple Chinese villagers. And that could really, I mean, we talk about French snowballs, right? You really want to make sure that you're packing that snow really well. And if you get those 1 or 2 royal boxes there to take down some of Leenock's villagers, could be huge.
I wonder if this scout is going to change from a box to a scout upon age up, because it does change its its asset. So maybe we get a regular scout after this, and it's not just a walk-in box. But yeah, we're gonna have to see. But Leenock, he's going Song Dynasty now. 3 villagers on the Imperial Academy. Interesting decision that he goes with the Barbican first. Usually when we see this sort of play, we see the Imperial Academy come up first. But I guess the idea is you want the Barbican up so you can, you're safe from the raids. Where's that scout?
Yeah, and especially on that stone mine where it is. Oh my god. I thought, you know what? I thought the Imperial officials were magicians. It turns out it was that scout the whole time. I'm really glad that we stuck with this journey, and really it was the friends we made along the way, wasn't it? But Leenock, again, with the Imperial Academy Psycho map, says he came out of the box. Oh my god, I can't. We need somebody, Merlin, just start talking. I can't take this seriously.
This cast has already gone to shambles. We're 5 minutes in. Oh god.
Oh my god.
But anyway, Leenock, he's got down a defensive wall. He's got his Barbican up. He's got the Imperial Academy up. He's looking pretty happy when it comes to his defensive position here. He's on the stone next to the Barbican. Gonna have to see where he looks to go for that second TC. And this is what we were talking about earlier, right? Where it's risky to go for 2 TCs here, as the Chinese went on Song. You've gone to Song Dynasty, now you're going for a second TC. It's risky. But it's what Leenock's going to be going for here. Beasty, he's through with a knight. That could be a dead villager. Doesn't get off the charge, so it's going to be 3 hits to take out a worker. But he does find a kill right there. So some nice value for him already. Surprised Leenock hasn't gone for a little bit of a short wall here. We can see he doesn't have a lot of vision. We tend to see a little bit of a wall come up usually. But
yeah, and that'd be a really good wall choice. I mean, Leenock did have a nice wall over here on the south side between the 2 wood lines that he has. But I would think around this area, we're going to see Royal Knights continuing to hit this side over and over again, because not only are we going to see the wood up north, there is a gold mine there that will be taken out. There's a couple good pops on those Chinese villagers. More villagers going down. That's 3 total for the French, and you can see he's at a +3 economic lead. 1 knight goes down, though. Oh, Merlin, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here because of somebody who likes to play French. Those knights, those first couple knights that you get, keeping them alive is so important, because especially when you're getting into that mid-feudal, late feudal kind of area, these are 240 resources that just hit the ground. And you can see it, that knight corpse right now, it's decomposing. Now it's nothing. You can see it right there. It's invisible. So with those knights, especially in that mid-feudal, the late feudal, when French is really trying to lay the pressure on, you got to think when you're in that fight, you're like, man, if I had 1 or 2 more knights, I could really make a difference, or I could have really won this fight. And sometimes for the French, that's what really makes or breaks a game. That's what makes you win or lose the game. Now Leenock's second town center
like both
with
players
the
are
Song
blind.
Dynasty.
So it looks like Beasty will be able to get away. I feel like Leenock probably could have killed that knight if he garrisoned a little bit earlier on. But we see...
Yeah, that would have been pretty important if he was able to. But Beasty now going with a little bit of archers too, adding the second town center of his own. And let's talk about the villager timings for just a second. If you click on one of the Chinese town centers, or the French town center, we'll go with the French one first. 17 seconds, now it's in feudal, it gets a little bit of an increase. Chinese, for the Song Dynasty, only 15. So it's not that big of a difference anymore.
It's really not. And at the moment, both players sitting on the same amount of villagers. Both playing for the same amount of villagers. So it really does come down to the army now, and who can find the most value. Obviously, Beasty's already found some good value, taking out 3 workers. So he's got that going for him for the time being. Trying to find more here with his archers. Leenock, he's had to move away from this wood line. I'm a little bit curious as to why he didn't just build a little wall here. I feel like that could have probably solved his issues, but hasn't gone for that. Instead, moves over to this other wood line. She's walled up a little bit better, but Beasty, is really looking to put on the pressure here. We have 2 knights out on the field, 9 archers, 10 archers. Archers really looking to get spammed out for him. Leenock, on the other hand, drops down his first production down at minute 9. This just feels a little bit late for the Chinese here, especially up against the French. Usually at this point in time we would have some spears through, and as a result of no spears, we see Leenock's going to be losing out on another villager and a ton of idle time.
Yeah, Beasty has been, using his Royal Knights to rain a special form of French hell on the Chinese. Now economic count 40 to 39, still in favor of Leenock, but for the archery range, now he's starting to put only Zugnu out. There's still 3 knights on the board, so when him putting out Zugnu and not supervised, only at 15 seconds each. It's going to take him a long time in order to get this to happen. Now, Beasty putting down an outpost, which is going to be pretty important, giving him some field of vision, but it could give him an opportunity, depending on where he wants to take the fight. He could obviously chop through. And he did. Look at that over there on the east side of that wall.
Yeah, perfect for him. I really feel like Leenock needs some spears out here. I mean, sure, you can mass up Chukanu to maybe like... If you got 30 of them, then sure, you don't really need to worry about spears that much. But the problem is, Leenock, he's only at 2. And you've only got the 1 archery range. So it's looking a little bit rough when it comes to that. Leenock going to be rushing up a little bit of an outpost here. He's going to be able to get himself some nice vision. Still, a wall would be nice, as that's going to stop the French Knights from making their way around Beasty. He spots out that outpost. He's trying to get vision in here. I feel like Leenock got a little bit... he's got lucky when it comes to his deer spawns, but a back woodline here could have been pretty huge for him. Unfortunately, he doesn't have that accessible to him.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested on what Leenock actually wants to do here, because he has 4 Zugnu. He's not necessarily going to, you know, really take down this French push by doing it, but take a look at his macro. He's got about 1,400 food and about 150 gold. I don't know if this is a macro issue or if he's trying to actually stockpile and go to castle, but now that it's starting to creep into the 1,500 territory and the fact that he only has 4 gold villagers, it's starting to feel like a mistake.
I think that is... He's got 1,600 food in the bank. I feel like at this point, you just stick a load of vills and gold and go Castle Age. And just get out like an SDB. But it seems like he's just going into the Chukanu. Obviously, Chukanu don't cost that much food. So you've got to really question, what is Leenock spending all of this food on? He's still got 23 villagers on the food. It's not like he's moving them. He's still going to be stockpiling all of this food. And now we see more workers going to be going down on the woodline there. A consequence of no wool. Leenock is playing the no wool on the side of the woodline here challenge.
Yeah, and it's a pretty hard challenge. As you can see, as the 5th and 6th worker ends up losing its life. Now, a couple of those Zugnu will do a good job against those archers. It'll, you know, keep them at bay, kind of keep them around the wall. The outposts are going to help them as well. But exactly right, now that there's no wall there, a little bit of a raid action going to happen. Now, what's nice about Leenock didn't hit that send villagers to safety or whatever button that is. I remember it's F on the hotkey, but
yeah,
they
probably would have went to the village.
Yeah, they would have went to the village instead. So Leenock with good presence of mind to actually take them back to the town center.
I mean, Leenock at the moment is just... He's in a rough position. He's finally getting out some spears to defend against these knights. But a wall. Why no wall, Leenock? A wall right here would change everything for you. You wouldn't have lost 9 villagers. All 9 villagers have been lost in the woodlines here where a knight's got in. It feels really rough for him. I mean, even over here, he doesn't have a tower down or anything. He's just relying on the army to stop the raids. And now Beasty, he's got a ram through. He's denying away the gold on the north side here. As we see, Leenock going to be moving out. He's going to be met with a little surprise over there. Leenock pulling villagers. No textiles through for him. He's going to be losing out on so much eco right here. Just trying to take out a single ram. Raid also coming through on the north side. That's where Leenock's army is at the moment. Leenock lost 16 villagers this game. I mean, he only took out 1 knight.
And for the first time since probably minute 6 or 7, Beasty actually has an economic lead. I know it's only a couple, but you can see how much 1 ram really does. There's no outpost over here for Leenock. Oh, my God. He is just hemorrhaging these Chinese peasants right now.
I feel like it just comes down to walls. Usually when we see these sort of builds up against the French, we see big walls coming across. You know, you want to fully turtle up here. But Leenock doesn't have down those walls. And as a result of that, Leenock can just... Beasty can just poke and prod everywhere around the bases. We see Beasty. He's got knights up here idling that TC. Leenock being idled on the woodline here. Villagers trying to find shelter, but knights going to be running in here as well. Beasty up to 13 knights, 28 archers. The ram going to be focusing down the outpost as well. Leenock just doesn't have enough out on the field to deal with this. As you said earlier, it's so greedy going for this play. You just don't have enough army to be able to deal with this. And Beasty, he's doing a great job denying the value that Leenock's getting from 2 TCs.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, Merlin. I don't understand this one. This one's perplexing to me. Maybe it was just because it was a little bit of a macro issue because we saw Leenock have that much food.
He's now playing too much gold.
Now we have too much gold.
Leenock.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. He's the Leenock. He's got his tentacles in different directions and they're flailing around to the point where he is calling it for that game too. That is a series win for Beasty in a 2-0. Honestly, in a rather convincing fashion, especially this game. This game was a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, this whole series was over very, very quickly. Oh, we just take a look at the villager count right there. Beasty ahead in the early game with the French passive bonus. And then, oh, there we go. Running away from me right there. But yeah, we can see there Leenock then did catch up. Had a slight lead at the 10-minute mark. And then that's when Beasty just went all in with the knights and the archers. And it paid off really, really well.